there's 2 points I want to make, kind of going back to what Brian said. First is that Joe and I have been working on some additional research for the emerging market, and in terms of the auditors, the Big Four affiliates do all of the Big Four work in China. The Big Four companies, the Big Four audit firms in the United States don't have any Chinese clients at all. And they've entirely regulated that or sent that to their affiliates. So they don't take the lead on any of those.
Yeah, just to clarify, if I may, John, what so you'll see a Big Four affiliate sign off on some of these Chinese companies, but those auditors are not the U.S. auditor. It is a foreign auditor located in China, and no U.S. auditor of the Big Four has signed off on anything from China since 2015. So the auditors themselves, you'll see one of the Big Four, Deloitte, PwC, KPMG, or Ernst & Young, but that is the Chinese affiliate. That is not the U.S. That's not the same auditor. Very different regulation, and so the perception is, you see the name and you trust it, but this is the auditors themselves will not. The U.S. auditors have not signed off on any of this, and none of the Big Four since 2015, and even 2015, only one or two.
When Mark and I were first discussing the Luckin case, when I told him that the PCA, that Ernst & Young domain was not subject to the PCAOB regulation, he didn't initially believe me because the audit opinion said that they're subject to the PCAOB. That's the thing it says. It says, or it has been saying for many years, we are subject to PCAOB registration. We comply with everything that the PCAOB says you're supposed to do. And they all have this in their audit opinion, but what they don't disclose is the fact that the PCAOB cannot conduct inspections, so that they can't actually be sure that that's what's happening. In fact, not only can they not do it, the Chinese government forbids it. So that's one of those things where if you are someone who's invested in a Chinese company, I mean, Mark you are very knowledgeable about a lot of these topics. Mark was not aware of that when we first started looking into the Luckin Coffee thing. And it's something that many investors and many people who are very knowledgeable about auditors and audit firms and the PCAOB weren't aware of just a short period of time ago, or still aren't aware of it. And that opens up a big question, I think, that a lot of people need to consider, and this includes people who have lost money, is there's gotta be something about the warranty. Like if you're interested in the law, as I am, there's a question of warranties. Like the idea that everyone just needs a warning, that a warning is sufficient to cover your rear end when it comes to issuing something that could be problematic or could be bad. I mean, people aren't expected to understand or appreciate the risk of buying meat from their grocery store that hasn't been properly inspected, right? That's not something that people are willing to have the competency to know or understand the risk of that. So the FDA requires the meat be inspected by, certified inspectors before it shows up at your grocery store. I mean, maybe I'm wrong about this, but I assume that's how it works. And I assume everyone assumes that's how it works because there's an understanding of a warranty when you buy something. What people don't understand in our society, where we have warranties really attached to almost everything that you purchase, is that when you purchase a stock from a Chinese company, there's zero warranty on it. The SEC has said, buyer beware. And that is I don't know if that doesn't really square with our current legal understanding of things, and it doesn't really square with basically our idea that investors are supposed to have the companies and mutual funds and all these different people have obligations and duties to the people whose money they're taking and investing.
John, let me jump in here for a sec, because first of all, the opinion that you cited was shocking to me. When I read that paragraph, I thought that's designed to have even a sophisticated investor think that there's inspection taking place. The inspection of the auditor and inspection of the underlying company's activities by the SEC and the PCAOB. So to me, that was a shock, and that's inexplicable to me in many ways. But more importantly, the question which I think would be worthwhile spending a few minutes on is something that we do talk about, we raise in our blogs about this, and that is that in the U.S. under the Securities Exchange Act and just about all of the other protections, Sarbanes-Oxley, et cetera, that have been put in place, that it assumes that the individual investor is the person being protected, that the information being provided to that person, it's a person, and that information needs to be accurate, complete, it needs to be reasonable, it needs to be the kind of what you call the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Now, the fundamental, and fundamentally, that's how we all understand it. And if that doesn't happen, then we get to be upset with the regulators or other people in that assurance supply chain. Now, the fundamental issue that occurs with respect to any Chinese company is that it's not clear at all. In fact, it's not even likely that in fact the individual investor is the entity being protected. The party is being protected. The party is the one that is in power. The party is the one that is to be protected and supported. The purpose of these companies that exist in China and seek Western capital, the point of these is to support the Chinese Communist Party. Now, that's a very different, that's fundamentally different. In fact, you could argue that under the communist philosophy, that in fact fleecing Western investors who are trying to make lots of money off of Chinese companies is a good thing. This is the fundamental problem. Is that a problem for the Chinese Communist Party to think that, yeah, no, those greedy Westerners should be fleeced? This is like the fundamental place where the rubber hits the road for the justification for communism at all.